Insolent Gnome here. That's me, I think. Maybe if I'm hitting my face. Come back with a little bit of a vlog or video log or vlog just sounds like some sort of weird alien off of a 70s sci-fi show. Kind of weird. Kind of like the vlogons. Actually, the vlogons from Hitchhikers. That's my geek cred right there. Getting ready to do a little bit of work on Spark. I'm to the point now where I need doors. As you can see, I've got a couple of sheets of acrylic. This is a smoked acrylic. This is a black acrylic that matches the rest of the case. So we'll have solid in the back, see-through on the front. Got them marked out, marked both sides, so if I screwed something up I can always go back and figure out what was going on. The paint is a funny little trick. You can see on the case that there is a very, very tiny gap right there, and that actually had those two aluminum rails run through it, and I had to take those out to even get my hand in there, and when I did that I couldn't even use a pencil on it, so I decided to mark it, take a can of primer, and just make sure my case was hitting the plexiglass and shoot a little bit of primer. You can see it makes a pretty good line, enough to follow. I'm going to cut these a little thick, or a little wide, give them a little extra, and because I'd rather have to file some down rather than recut a new piece. These are my last two pieces of acrylic that I've bought for this. I really don't want to have to buy some more. As you can see in my last update, Spark is pretty close to being done. We've got the hard drive tray that can be yanked out and replaced with a different one. Like I say, the aluminum rails to give it some strength. Pretty much everything is cut out. The only thing that I really am not sure about, well, I say I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure, is this area right here. I had originally intended on, bringing the PSU out and putting the curve on this end, but decided to do it this way as I was going because I like the look of it, and I had planned on putting an end cap on this. That's why that mod block might be a little hard to see. It has a 6mm gap from the edge, and that's so I could slide a piece of acrylic right in here and it would sit flush. But considering that this is going to be basically a shop work computer for me and stuff that I can render videos, because hopefully stuff like the vlogs takes off. Hopefully you know, it's going to be sitting down here and nobody's going to see it but me, and I really don't care if you can see the wires for the power supply. And it's always something that if I did want to make more of a case out of it or change it up, because I did leave it to where this thing could be swapped out for a bigger system with water cooling, 2 360 rads in it if you wanted to. But at that point, if you wanted to change it, you could always just cut another piece of acrylic, throw it in the end, match up the paint, which is going to be a hot rod black, which should be relatively easy to match. I mean, it's SEM paint that I've got. They have a little hot rod black kit, which is pretty slick. It's not cheap, but I couldn't find any. They didn't have any other routes of going hot rod black that were cheap, and the other one that was relatively price efficient gave me a gallon of hot rod black without adding activators and everything else to it. So I would have been painting everything I've owned. I make hot rod black for at least like 5 or 6 years. So I went with the quart route, even though it was a little expensive. Bought me some pearl white to go with it. Basically white, a pearlescent, and a clear, so I can put some stripes on this, give it a little bit of color, make it stand out instead of just being a black box. So we got the back panel cut. Cut the back first because I figured if I screwed something up royally, I could hide the back panel a little bit. Let's flip this bad boy around. That's capture. I don't want to capture anything. Let me just do this. Cut it a little wide. I got a little bit to take off the back, a little off the bottom, and I've got a little tip right here. When I was cutting it, I kind of thought it was waving out, but I had a line out there, so I figured rather than screw up that line and really mess things up, I just go ahead and follow what I had drawn out there. I could always cut it again and file it down. Corner came out surprisingly well. I'm gonna have to get it tightened down just a little bit to make sure. I was worried about those. There's a bit of a flare to those corners, but you know, I don't know how well it's coming out for you all seeing. But you know, I mean, for just first try at it, that came out really well, better than I really kind of thought it would. I don't think there's a lot of filing to do in spots. Should pop in there relatively easy. I'm happy. This is a good thing. All right, so we have got the back panel finished, and it looks pretty good. You can see some space, some gaps in there, and I think that's just gonna have to happen. I mean, it's not a huge gap. It's just that there's normally on a case you've got something inside that's behind it, and it doesn't really show. But it's gonna show on this one. So the plan was to cut a gap in here for that bottom section to breathe, to get some air into the PSU. I'll probably still do that, but damn, I like the way that looks. That solid back really turned out nice. But like I said, and this is glossed up, so it looks a lot better. It's kind of making me think that maybe the whole case, except for the side being do the whole case in a flat and then the side and leave it gloss, and that would look kind of cool because it'd be a nice contradiction. But I think I'll probably still just paint it the flat black and cut that bottom out, even though that does look pretty darn good as it is. But the only problem is if I don't do any cutting out on that, then the PSU doesn't really breathe if you ever put the end plate on. Right now we get plenty of air through the fans because it's actually going to set up. I don't know if you can see it, but this is the hole Dave screwed up when he was planning his blocks out for his PSU, or actually when he was putting the case together, didn't think about the PSU beforehand, and wound up putting a couple of mod blocks right where the PSU goes, and it has to sit on one. So there's actually an air gap underneath it, but I still want to have the space underneath it because I'm going to throw some lights under there, and that was kind of one of my ideas, was to have the lights play off the bottom of that you can see on the outside.